for tuning in. Please like, turn on notifications, subscribe, or share. Want to be a guest? Email podcast@tricountyareachamber.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome into this episode of Chamber Chat Live. Before we begin, we'd like to thank our sponsors, the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce 20 and 21 Mission and Vision Partners are MVPs. So these are folks who have continually invested in the chamber, which is certainly helping programming with the chamber and is also making episodes and concepts like Chamber Chat possible. So we want to thank everybody who's on your screen right now as our Mission and Vision Partners for 2021 with the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Vitiello. I am the Director of Institutional Relationships and Marketing at the Victory Bank in Limerick. Welcome again to this episode. We got a great one for you today. Somebody who's never been on Chamber Chat before and is taking advantage of it with their membership. They've been members for quite a while, which is great, but it's going to be great to chat with them. But first, we're switching back to the president's desk today. There it is. I have Eileen, who is the president of the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. So Eileen, you're back at the president's desk.
I am back in the office, safely able to maneuver to get in. Fortunately, the roads are pretty much clear now, so that's great. I did not show him live on camera, but if you did see, I did post in the comments a picture of Franklin, who is our beagle. We talked about our dog on Monday, who was not on screen with me, but there's a picture of him posted on Facebook. So
was that the one?
You know.
Was that the one out in the snow?
No, those were Melissa's dogs.
Oh, okay, that was okay. I have to go back and check it out then.
Nice. So yeah, I thought I would share him with you.
Absolutely.
So just again, thank you for tuning in today. I just have a couple of things that I wanted to go over. Not necessarily as much event-based as just some other things that I want to continue to share. We were fortunate enough to have an article in the Reading Eagle yesterday focused on 2021. I would encourage everyone to stick with our social media. I wrote that article talking about some of the things that the chamber will be focused on. We've redone our mission and our vision. We've adopted some values, and I'm going to talk about them on some future President's Desk episodes. But I just wanted to take a moment. One of the things that we opened that article up with is reminding everyone of the 3 cornerstones of the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. And you'll see them in some of our marketing, building communities, creating connections, and supporting commerce. And those 3 things really encompass what we do, and everything we do feeds into one of those categories. So again, I'll talk a little bit more in future shows about the other things, but just wanted to put that reminder out there about those cornerstones and the opportunities that we try and find to fit into those 3 different buckets of who we really are. And the other thing I would just mention today is PPE, personal protective equipment. We are in partnership, I'm sure you've heard us talk about, but also seen on our social media. We're in partnership with Montgomery County to be a distribution spot for that. You just have to be a business with less than 100 employees located in Montgomery County. We're happy to get you supplies, so please contact the chamber office and we can get you scheduled to pick those materials up.
Eileen, how many boxes do you have left? I mean, the last time Danielle gave us a tour, there was literally hundreds. How many do you have now left, do you think?
We are probably still in the neighborhood of 150, 175 in the office, but that is multiple deliveries. So fortunate to have the Lewis Group, Rick Lewis, and some of his staff have offered their services, and they've been picking up the PPE for us in one of their trucks. And delivering it here and helping us unload it and get it up to the chamber office. And we've done that multiple times, with each load being 200 kits. So we continue to rotate through, but we do have more here, and the county has more to get to all of us to distribute. So please, if you know of anybody, a neighboring business, we would love to provide them with these items.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you to Rick Lewis and Lewis Environmental.
Yes.
So if you're a business and you need PPE, please contact Eileen at the chamber. We'll be
Correct.
happy to get the PPE kits to you. It's probably going to be for the foreseeable future that we're continuing to, be safe around one another and have a safe work environment as well. And then I would imagine too, as vaccines start to happen and this virus starts to wane a little bit, people are going to be coming back to the office. So there is going to be that continued need for the PPE equipment to keep us all safe. So even though you don't maybe have an immediate need with it now, I would encourage you to pick it up for the future,
Right.
for the near future. Yeah.
These are not items that are going to go bad. So,
Right.
might as well have it on hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Eileen, thank you so much. It was great to
Thank you.
hear you back at the president's desk again.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. So as Eileen and I were talking, I think Drew gave a little sneak peek as to who our guest was today. And I can't wait to have him on because he's somebody I actually just met about 6 minutes ago. So that's the beauty of Chamber Chat. We can bring people together maybe who have never met before. But my guest today is Bruce Baldwin from Baldwin and Associates. Bruce, welcome to Chamber Chat. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks very much for having me. After a tough day of shoveling out yesterday, I was able to make it into the office today and happy to be here.
Awesome. And thank you. And it's a pleasure to meet you. I know, I've known about your law firm for years because I've been in banking and we share some mutual clients, but also have the pleasure of knowing Levi and Amy Wolf as well. So have a little bit of connection there. So Bruce, tell me a little bit about yourself first before we get into Wolf Baldwin, please. Where are you from?
Again, Bruce Baldwin. I'm a lifelong resident of Montgomery County until a few years back, and I moved just across the line into the Chestnut Hill neighborhood in Philadelphia, but still make it into the office pretty regularly. And I've been with the firm since 1987. So if you're counting, that's over 33 years. And originally, I started out with Jack Wolf, who was previously a partner in the firm. He's now retired. And now I am pleased to be working with Levi Wolf. You just mentioned Levi and Amy, of course, big fixtures here in Pottstown. And I work a little bit more behind the scenes than they do, I would say. But I've been doing a lot of civil litigation over the years. And increasingly, I'm moving from that into small business work. I'm doing a lot of small business work for the past 15 years or so. And more of that, and the older I get, the more I like to stay out of the courtroom and leave that to the younger attorneys in the firm.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about the small business in just a few moments.
Sure.
Look, I mean, we can unpack a pretty deep conversation here, but so tell me some of the things that Wolf Baldwin offers. I know, there's some firms that offer you're just specialty in one area. If you would say you're a specialty in one area, but I know you guys do a whole bunch of other things. So if you could kind of describe the law firm, it would be appreciated.
Sure. We have 4 offices, primarily in Pottstown, 800 East High Street, which is where I am now. We also have satellite offices in Westchester and Reading, and most recently, we've developed an office in Pennsburg. And part of what we have is a robust estate and estate planning department. We have an estate and estate planning attorney here in Pottstown, Carolyn Marcazzani, and also an estate and estate planning attorney in full practice in Pennsburg with Michelle Forsell, who we're pleased to have welcomed on over the past few months. So in addition to that estate and estate planning element, we also have a solid workers' compensation department with Levi Wolf doing mostly comp work, and also Dan McCabe also doing comp work. They're both outstanding attorneys in that area. Both are certified in that field. We also have a significant municipal law practice with Chuck Garner and Matt Hovey. And as you may know, Chuck is the solicitor for the borough of Pottstown as well as for various other municipalities. And that's important to me that we have those different elements because they help me, they backstop my work in business law. So if there's a municipal component or a real estate component, I can go to Chuck Garner or Matt Hovey for any workers' compensation issues, and they do arise. Very often we have to advise our business clients on whether they need coverage, whether there are exceptions to coverage, what happens, what we can do for them to help them out of a jam if for some reason they didn't have workers' compensation coverage at a critical moment. And of course, there's overlap with our estate planning department. We have a lot of clients who are worried about business succession planning, and we work with Carolyn Marquezani and Michelle Forsell with that kind of issue. So I feel privileged that I do have other attorneys here who I can go to if there's a blind spot in my knowledge base.
Do you feel like the small businesses, when it comes to engaging you guys with services, that they tend to be a little bit more reactive rather than proactive? And what's the thought process around if I'm a small business owner, how am I thinking about engaging you?
That's a really good question. I would say about half of us come to us proactively, realizing that they need their contracts tweaked or revamped entirely in some cases, and some come to us only when there's a problem. The goal is, once we have a business client as a client of ours, the goal is to be available for them, on very short notice, by telephone, to walk them through problems as they develop, but also at the same time say, hey, you're not going to have this problem next time, if you handle this issue now. So let's work on the contract you're using, so you don't have that as a problem going down the road. And there are all sorts of ways you can do that. When it comes to an issue of collecting, a lot of contracts are missing the sorts of provisions that would compel the party who owes the money, the debtor, to pay up quickly, such as interest provisions, such as attorney's fees for collection and enforcement provisions, those sorts of things. So a lot of things that can be very easily accomplished to sort of change the incentives for someone who may owe debt to one of our business clients. Mm-hmm.
And my next question, I'm not asking you to give you a full consultation here, but you see a lot with business succession, as soon as you start a business, you almost have to plan for ending the business in some regard, right? So whether or not you're the principal and, I don't know, whatever, you happen to pass away, or you want to pass it along to your family, or you wind up selling the business. What would you say to a business owner who hadn't even thought about that? They're just so excited about getting the business going and getting it started. They have to think about some sort of succession planning. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Well, one of the things that we recommend is that businesses incorporate or organize as limited liability companies if they haven't done so already. If they do, if it's a corporation, then there are shares of company stock that are readily transferable, at least to family members. There are membership interests in LLCs that are percentage interests, and those are also easily transferable. But part of what you want is to prevent a business partner from being able to sell or transfer his share to someone who may not have any head for the business, or may not have compatible goals with the business or with the other partner. And so there you have buy-sell agreements that impose restrictions on transfer. Those buy-sell agreements can take a number of forms, but usually it's a right of first refusal. You can't sell to John Doe down the street without first offering the shares of the business to me on the same terms, that sort of thing. So that through setting up corporations or limited liability companies, you establish a mechanism for transfer, and you also establish restrictions on who member interests and shares can and cannot be transferred to.
See, guys, this is why you contact a subject matter expert. I mean, come on, right? I'm going to ask you another question, but before that, I want to encourage our audience, if you are watching this live, to please drop any questions or comments right here on Facebook, and hopefully Bruce will have the opportunity to answer them live for you. I want to go back to the estate planning a little bit. I'm just going to ask you a blanket question. It might be a little bit loaded, but who needs estate planning? Who needs
estate planning? Well, in the absence of a will, in the absence of that, the law provides sort of a default will. It's called intestacy succession. So there are ways of transferring assets from a deceased person without there being a will. But the question is whether that default plan in the intestacy law is what you want. And also, the intestacy law says nothing about who's going to be your executor, who's going to carry out your wishes. That's something that in the absence of a will that names an executor, you're going to have to go to the court and make a case for why you should be the person appointed as the administrator of that estate. And if you don't have that in a will, you're leaving that to chance. So it's important to do that. It's also important to keep in mind that the intestacy law is sort of a blunt instrument. It doesn't allow fine tuning. It doesn't allow that you leave this item of personal property to that person. It doesn't allow that you provide some specialized instructions as to how your real estate should be transferred or not transferred, and maybe held and leased for a period of time. Intestacy law is just split it amongst the children generally, if there are children to be had there. It's a little more complicated than that, but it's sort of a blunt instrument. And if you want to fine tune anything, you need a will to do that.
So when do you recommend somebody engage you in that process? Is that something that happens as you start to have a family, a little bit later in life as you start to accumulate wealth, or when does that happen?
It's comfort level for different people, but for a lot of people, we recommend that, if not sooner, that they start putting together wills and having us put together wills for them, actually, when they do have children. You can provide for everything to be split equally amongst your first child and any children hereafter born to or adopted by, is the language we use. And you can also name in there someone that you would want to serve as the guardian for any minor children if you God forbid, pass away while the children are still minors. And the appointment of a guardian in a will is not necessarily legally binding on a court. The court has to approve it. But the naming of that individual in the will makes it more likely that the person you want to have guardianship ends up having guardianship. Gotcha.
So you guys have 4 offices now. That's congratulations. I know your newest one's in Pennsburg, right?
That's right. Right. We're happy to have them on board, and that gets us to that end of the county where we weren't otherwise before, and also puts us a little bit in Bucks County and in Lehigh County as well.
Okay. So Bruce, what made you become an attorney? Is this something you always wanted to do, or?
My grandfather was an attorney, and for the longest time, I would not let that motivate me to go to law school. But then, to be perfectly honest, when I was in college at Westchester University many, many years ago, I was a major in English literature. And as I got through my junior year there, I realized I'm not sure that the available jobs for someone with an English literature degree are going to be the angle I want to follow. And since no one was about to pay me to be the great American novelist, I thought the best approach would be to go to law school, because through a law degree, you at least have the ability to help people navigate a complicated legal system. And that's how I've always viewed my role, is help people navigate a system that's difficult for lawyers, let alone how difficult it might be for the clients we have. So that's where I've taken satisfaction since then, from helping people navigate these sorts of issues. And you talk about the practice of law, and the reason you call it a practice is you never quite get it right. You're always practicing,
right?
And so it has always been a challenge. It always is a challenge, and usually it's a fascinating challenge. Always something new.
Sure. I know. I mean, being in banking, we see something new every day as well. New questions, and we have to be the subject matter experts in our area, just like you do. You have family, Bruce?
I do. I have a wife, and I have 2 children. My daughter Mariel lives here in Pottstown. My son Ryan is in Philadelphia. He's doing a lot of film work, and he has to be close to where the film crews are going. My daughter, as a matter of fact, went into law as well. She's a paralegal. So I don't know whether she's following my footsteps, or I think she just took a different route to get to the same profession.
Yeah, that's all right. The kids sound like they're doing something that they love to do, right?
They are, and that's important. Very important.
So when you're not practicing law, what do you like to do? What are some of your hobbies and interests?
Boy, when I'm not practicing law, that doesn't come up very often. My wife and I are runners. We try to stay fit with that, and we are avid readers and also writers with middling or different levels of success. Most of it not quite where we'd like it to be. But so I also do some teaching in the legal field for National Business Institute. They run seminars nationally, and I teach some of the more locally based seminars in Philadelphia and Allentown.
That's great. So how has the pandemic affected the law firm? Have you seen any changes or an uptick in inquiry?
Most of our practice stayed pretty constant. People are in need of legal services, whether there's a pandemic or not, for the most part. The one area where there's been some effect, I think, is in the area of workers' compensation. And I think that's largely because a lot of the people who would get injured on the job, we're talking about, blue-collar jobs largely, those people are working less than they were before. So there's less employment that leads to work injuries, and therefore a slight reduction in the workers' compensation practice. So I was interested that that's the way that went. I wouldn't have foreseen that, but that has happened to a point.
Mm-hmm. And I also know that the practice does quite a bit in the community. I mean, just talking with Amy and Levi, you guys are involved in a number of different things. Can you speak to one or two of them that you hold particularly close, or something that you're excited about?
Levi spent a lot of years and a lot of energy helping to bring the carousel online. Mm-hmm. So Levi's been a very big part of that. Amy Wolf has been a very big part of Pottstown Go Forth. And in part through seeing how Pottstown Go Forth was started and helped out by Tri-County Community Network, I took an interest in Tri-County Network, or TCN, and I'm now on the board there. I'm also on the board here in Pottstown with Harris Family Ministries. And so those are just a few of the organizations that we've volunteered with over the years.
That's great. Go ahead.
Now, so you're right. Levi and Amy are such integral parts of this community, and I envy their ability to devote as much energy as they do to those things.
Yeah, they have a lot of enthusiasm, but you know why? They love their town. They love their community.
They do. No question about it.
Yeah,
as I do too.
Yeah, I was going to say, as do you and the others at the firm. Drew, if you wouldn't mind pulling up that website one more time. I just wanted to kind of go through it. And, if folks who are kind of curious about you or any other members of the team there, they have an opportunity on the website to kind of go through. And if you go under attorneys there, if folks have an opportunity to meet your individual attorneys and get a little bit of a background on each one of them. So, I know having an attorney is a very personal thing for most people. So if you want to kind of get an idea for, who you're talking to and maybe what they specialize in, that's a great opportunity to do that. So we have a few more moments here. Bruce, is there anything else you'd like to add? I'm glad we had you on today. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that I spent quite a few years as a litigator in Montgomery, Berks, and Chester counties, and also somewhat in Philadelphia. And it was through that litigation and seeing how businesses got themselves into trouble that I was able to get a better feel for how to function as a business attorney to help get them out of trouble. So, our primary goal when we meet with a client to set up a new company, or meet with the client who runs into a problem with an existing company, part of my primary goal when there's a problem is to try to get them out of it without litigation. Everyone thinks they want to go to court, but court's a messy, expensive process, and if there's a way to stay out of it, that's usually for the best. So I've been in front of enough judges over the years who told me, why are you here? Why can't you settle this thing? So I've taken that to heart and do my best to keep my clients out of court, because once you're in court, fees get out of control. Once you're in court, you lose a chance to, or you can lose a chance to resolve it in a way that's satisfactory to, or at least palatable to a point to both parties. And there are plenty of judges who will tell you, you want to find a way to settle this, because if you don't settle it, I'm going to rule in the way I want to rule, and it's probably not going to make either one of you happy.
Yeah.
So we run into that a lot. But I pride myself in finding ways to keep my clients out of court and to make sure that the practices they're following going forward are least likely or less likely to get them in trouble in the first place.
Great advice. Again, that's why we call subject matter experts. So, Bruce, thank you so much for being on today. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
you're welcome. My pleasure. My guest again today is Bruce Baldwin from Baldwin and Associates. I was trying to merge both of those together. So Bruce,
we've tried worse. So okay.
Right. If I could ask you to hold on for just a moment, but before we go, I do want to thank Drew Griffin from Delicious Marketing. Drew is behind the scenes. He's pulling up the website for us. He's monitoring the chats and making this whole thing possible. So Drew from Delicious Marketing, thank you again so much for volunteering. So folks, once again, this has been an episode of Chamber Chat Live. My name is Bill Vitiello. I'm the Director of Institutional Relationships and Marketing with the Victory Bank. And we want to finish by thanking our 2021 Mission and Vision partners, our MVPs.
Thank you for tuning in. Please like, turn on notifications, subscribe, or share. Want to be a guest? Email podcast@tricountyareachamber.com.